It's a Polaris. It's a 250. It's a 2x4. It's a 2-cycle. And I believe it hasn't run in 22 years. Howdy folks, welcome back. I had some moderate interest in a follow-up video on the Polaris four-wheeler, so here it is. So here's our new crankshaft seals. Let's go ahead and put those in. So we've got to pull this primary clutch back off, and a lot of guys were not happy with my puller method I used in the first video, where I just grabbed it on the outside with a 3-jaw puller and hit it with the slide hammer. The thing was junk. I mean, what difference does it make? So anyway, we're going to be a little more gentle on the newer parts. So I got a socket and a bolt here, and then a second socket which is going to fit like so, and that's our spacer. And then I have a socket head cap screw that just happens to be the right thread to fit the internal threads in that primary clutch. Look at that. Just like store-bought. There we go. Get our spacer slash socket back out. And our other spacer slash socket. No harm done. And a lot of guys were flipping out about me putting the fluid film oil on the crankshaft. Guys, it's coming back apart. Also, apparently I put this belt on backwards, so we're gonna fix that. I don't know. Yeah. So you see right here, it's got an arrow that's supposed to point in the direction that it's supposed to rotate, so I did get that wrong. Anyway, let's get those seals out of there. So as far as I can tell, these seals come in from the outside. So what we're going to do, we use our super special puller here. Well, you're going to be that way. A little bit too much mouse pee, I think. There we go. This little gizmo is just an attachment I have from my slide hammer, and then I'm using a drywall screw. There's a special screw that you can use with this tool for pulling seals, but it's pretty wide for these small seals, so we'll use the drywall screw. Cool. Boy, it stinks. Alright, the crankshaft and the crankcase are cleaned up as best I can. It's pretty rusty, and you remember how many mice were in here. Anyway, we'll use an old Indian trick on this seal. We'll pack the inside with grease so that when we hammer on it, we don't accidentally pop the spring out, because we won't be able to see it once we get it installed. And this one's rubber on the outside and the inside, so I'm going to put it in dry. And then I've got this socket. This is actually a socket made for taking the IPR valve out of 6-liter Power Strokes, but it should work pretty good for this. All right, I'm happy with that. I don't want to go too far. You know, I don't think there's a shoulder on this bore, so we don't want to go too far. But I also don't want it sticking out too far because this crankshaft's kind of rough. You know, I want it to run where it used to run so it doesn't tear up this new seal. Okay. Oh. We'll install our drive belt with the arrow in the right direction, or the correct direction. Had a lot of speculation in the last video that the head was moving around on the crankcase. No, the whole engine's moving around inside the frame. Now we can install the belt guard, which is now mostly mouse free. And all the seals are gone, so it'll never be waterproof again, but that's okay. Imagine they weren't very waterproof when they were new. Well, I'm trying to remove the flywheel so I can put the seal on the other side. There's a bunch of oil inside this stator cover, which shouldn't be there. But this flywheel does not want to come off. Oh, boy. I don't know about heating that. There should be magnets in that. I don't want to get it too hot. Well, that's interesting. Was not expecting that. Ha! Oh, I was pretty sure we were going to break it. It was starting to make some really weird sounds. Geez, that's it? Oh boy. Well, that was fun. Well, on this side, the outside of the seal is bare steel, so we're going to use a little bit of this Loctite 515 flange sealer or gasket maker, whatever you want to call it, just to give it a little extra help, like so. And then again, I packed the inside with grease. There we go. Well, I should have paid attention and I should have marked this stator before I took it off, because these holes are actually slotted, I assume, so you can change the timing. But luckily it's so dirty I was able to just line it up with the old, the old bare spots where the washers were. So I'm pretty sure we're right back where we started. Anyway, if you're doing this after watching this video, mark your stator before you take it off. So it looks like it had some kind of a sealer between the recoil cover and the case here. So I'm just going to use a little bit more of that 515 Loctite. It's pretty good stuff for this kind of application. Looks like whatever they had was pretty similar to this stuff anyway. And I'm sure that's just to keep water out. I'm also going to put a little grease on this starter stub here, just in case we ever actually try to revive the starter. Give it a little bit of lube. And it does turn, the starter. So I don't know if the brushes are bad or why it doesn't work. So we can look into that someday. I'm going to put a little bit of this Stay-Bil rust stopper on there underneath the flywheel, because it's keyed. I mean, it doesn't really need the friction. So hopefully if we ever have to take it off again, it'll be a little bit easier, because that was pretty ridiculous. Okay, so if I remember right, this is kind of tricky. Because of this long bolt. And I don't want to take the foot pedal off. So I have to kind of sneak it in. There we go. Perfect. Oh. Yep. Oh, and I forgot to put that thing on. Dang it. So we'll take this back off. I hope you guys aren't watching this as some kind of an instructional video, because I do not know what I'm doing. This is for the recoil. And it won't work without it. Thought that was a little bit too easy. Alright, let's try it again. There we go. Good as new. And guess what? This brake pedal kind of almost moves now. I popped it with a hammer a couple times. I think it might work. I believe it's got a plastic bushing, so there's a chance that'll stay working. Well, it's all put back together. Let's see if it'll run. I see it's leaking gas everywhere. Sounds like it's rubbing against the cover a little bit. It'll self-correct.
A car's coming, a train is coming.
Yeah, kiddo. Well, we got the Polaris running, but now the Kawasaki's down. I don't know what's wrong with it. It has fuel, it has spark, but it will not start. So, guess we'll tear into that one next. That's it. That's all it does. Hopefully you guys can see that spark plug is wet. It smells like fuel. So it's definitely getting fuel. That is not the problem. Come on, spark plug. I know you got spark. Well, it's pretty weak. Maybe it's just a bad ground. I don't know, that doesn't seem quite right. Well, now I lost my spark altogether. So let's check the primary side of the coil here. Realize you guys won't be able to see a whole lot, but hopefully you'll be able to see this test light. That should light. Let me crank it over. And it doesn't. Well, that's not good. Well, I'm still not sure. So I checked all my powers and grounds on this ignition module. That's this unit right here. It's got power and ground everywhere. So I hooked up a scope to this wire here, this black with white that comes out of the, come on. So I got my scope hooked up to this, whatever they call it, crankshaft sensor. It must be some kind of a magnetic reluctance type sensor. It's a 2-wire sensor, so it should create its own voltage. Anyway, I hooked the scope up, and when I crank it, come on. Well, there's a close-up of the waveform. Looks pretty normal to me. It's kind of got a little squiggle going on right here where it transitions from negative to positive, but I don't think that's unusual. So that's, you know, pretty standard variable reluctance sensor output. I think there's nothing wrong with the sensor. Oh boy. Well, this is getting annoying. So guess what? Now it's kind of working. So I don't know. At this point I'm thinking maybe we got a pin fit issue on the plug for the ignition module. Alright lady, what's the problem?
Our door was pretty weathered and paint was scraping, so I decided since we have a couple nice days in a row, I would paint it.
Better you than me.
I know.
Alright, what am I here for?
I tried to take the lock off and it got stuck.
Which part of it?
The screw.
Which screw?
The only one that's still in it. This one.
Oh, okay. The one that's all stripped out?
Yeah, that's what I
Alright,
said.
push towards me.
I have the drill.
Yeah, we're probably going to have to cut that off. Alright.
So now I have to decide if I paint the trim part or not.
Sounds like a big problem.
Sounds like I'm gonna just wait and see how the blue looks.
Fixed it.
It's not fixing it, that's
Breaking it.
breaking it. So now it's a matter of can we fix it without buying a whole new lock.
Cool.
Great, I'll go to the hardware store for the 4th time in 3 days.
Alright.
Your turn.
Any other important jobs?
Yeah, you need to finish scraping it.
No.
Yeah.
Busy.
No.
See you later.
No.
Yeah! Yeah!
Say Daddy's turn.
You can scrape, kiddo. Scrape it.
Okay!
Alright.
No.
There we go.
No.
That's the way Dad would scrape it.
No.
Power tools.
Nope.
I want it straight! I like it straight! Straight!
Perfect. This is great. Glad we have kids. Alright, back to work. Hey buddy, what's up? Gotta help me depin a connector?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought you were helping Mom scrape paint.
Mom, I'm going with Dada. Just do it.
Hey buddy. Hey, can you not move the tripod so much? People are gonna get vertigo.
Why?
That's what happens when things move around quickly.
Well, I like to drive this.
The forklift?
Yeah.
Maybe you can drive this four-wheeler if I ever get it fixed.
With this truck. It's a with this truck.
Alright, that's done. Let's see if it's gonna work. Oh boy. Oh man.
I'll help you.
Nope. Oh, it just came unclipped. Hey, step back, kiddo.
I'm gonna help you.
Well, that one's for the
I'm
scope.
gonna drive. I'm gonna drive the four-wheeler.
Alright, get around the camera.
I'm gonna drive the four-wheeler. I'm gonna drive that.
It's gotta run before you can drive it, kiddo.
Am I supposed to be getting down there?
No, I'm gonna drive that, Mom.
Alright, you're supposed to be showing this test light.
Oh, you didn't tell me what I was supposed to be recording.
Right here, in my hand. Can you see it? That looks exactly the same. I don't know, it doesn't seem very good.
I've decided I'm a terrible camera person.
Yeah, okay, you can turn it off.
I don't even know how to turn it off.
Well, I don't really know what we just did, but we now have spark. Oh, it's even messing up the camera. That's interesting. Must be pretty good. Well, that's annoying. I know for sure it had spark yesterday, but would not run. Maybe it didn't have enough spark, I don't know. Anyway, fix. Here's our stunt driver.
These are appropriate shoes.
Got all your safety gear on this time.
Yep.
Sure we won't get any comments about this.
Nope, not at all.
You gotta put it in gear. Nope, oh. If you push the pedal down, it won't grind. Yeah. I think it's her first time trying high range. Maybe a little bit more than she expected.
I thought I was going right to the corn.
Well, yeah, you won't really crash. You just kind of make
It's
our
going
neighbors
into corn.
make our neighbors mad.
Hey, it works.
It works.
It works.
It's rubbing on the cover a little bit, but it'll self-correct. No worries.
What do you want me to do with it?
Probably park it, I guess.
There.
Back inside the shop. Yep, turn it off. Cool.
What else do I have to do?
Turn the gas off.
Where's that?
Up is reserve, down is normal.
Got it.
And that's off.
I understand what a horizontal is.
All right, Hufflepuff, what do we think?
Well, just like my house, it's friendly and accepts everybody.
We do not encourage Harry Potter nerdism on the channel. We do not. We actively discourage it.
It's the house that's nearest to the kitchen, so just saying.
I wouldn't know, because I'm a purist, not tainted by Harry Potter.
Cool. Cool.
Right, Pup? Yeah. We'll make our own house, won't we, buddy? All right, I'm going to ask my experienced stunt rider to help me do a little comparison between the Polaris and the Kawasaki. So this is a Polaris 250 2x4 or Trail Boss, whatever you want to call it. And then this is my Kawasaki Bayou 220. Both were DOA when we got them. Both running and driving now. Which one do you like better?
The Polaris is growing on me. Mostly because it's an automatic, so I don't have to worry about shifting.
Yeah, that is nice.
The biggest problem is it's super fast.
Yeah, it's scary fast.
And yeah, So to make the curve, like the turns in our yard is kind of difficult. And I thought I was going straight into a cornfield.
It is. Like with the two-stroke engine and then the torque converter, it's just massive torque. Things like almost impossible to keep in a straight line. But what I've noticed, so first of all, the Polaris is just overall a bigger machine. And it's a lot more comfortable for me to ride. The Kawasaki's kind of small for me.
Yeah, it's smaller and it doesn't go as fast, which is, I mean, for our yard is probably better because we don't really have anywhere to go.
I feel like the actual speed's probably the same, but the acceleration is so much more on the Polaris.
That's probably true.
And then the Polaris suspension is way better than the Kawasaki.
Well, I also can't get to like third gear. I can only get to second gear.
We got to work on your shifting.
I know.
So the Kawasaki, it just has like swing arm suspension, kind of like an old Volkswagen. So it really doesn't corner very well. But the Polaris has this McPherson strut suspension, which seems like a gimmick, but it really does work a lot better. And
on the plus side, the Polaris hasn't ruined a pair of pants yet for me. Just saying.
How did it ruin your pants? The guards?
Yeah, remember I ruined a pair of pants on the Kawasaki.
That's an important consideration, folks.
It is. It is.
Might ruin your pants.
Might ruin your pants if you're trying to...
I like that the Polaris has the footwells, or the platforms, instead of just having the pegs. So I always get worried that my big long feet are going to get hooked on something. Anyway, you know, they're both similar vintage machines, but they're quite different. The Kawasaki, in my opinion, is a lot more sophisticated. The engine is a lot smoother, and
its brakes aren't as good.
Having the shaft drive, it's a lot more refined. Whereas the Polaris, you know, it's just kind of like an old farm tractor. It's all chain drive and stuff. I did learn some things about the Polaris, though. The brake here, which does work with the foot pedal.
It's really nice.
It's actually
a cornfield.
Yeah, it's actually on the primary side of the transmission, so you can actually use that to stop the gearbox in order to shift it. So it's basically like a clutch brake also, which I did not know. So I do learn things from the comments, like that I put the belts on backwards, and that the brake is used to shift. So yeah, I'd say the big thing with the Kawasaki, though, I am not impressed with their wiring. That's basically I've had to redo every single wiring connector in the harness.
Well, that's also because of the mice.
Well, I mean, that's just age and vibration, I guess. But, you know, Kawasaki this is a company that makes industrial robots. Like, if they can't figure out how to do wiring, who can?
That's probably true.
They really phoned it in on these ATVs.
Polaris also looks like a snowmobile. Like they just took their snowmobile and put it on wheels.
Yeah, that's right. The Polaris is just a four-wheeled snowmobile, which is fine because you end up having a lot of parts that are similar between the Polaris and between the ATV and the.
Can our next thing be a snowmobile?
You want a snowmobile? Okay, hold on. Let me think. Have you thought this through? Hold on.
We don't need two four-wheelers, so can we trade one for a snowmobile?
Hold on. What's the prerequisite for snow?
Cold.
What do you hate?
I hate being outside.
And?
It doesn't matter if it's cold or hot. I hate being outside.
How can we possibly be married?
I hate being outside. It's a fact.
Good thing I have a kid.
Like, who makes me go outside all the time?
I know. All right.
I'm just saying, we don't need two, so can we trade one for a snowmobile?
How are we going to race? Yeah, we're thinking about selling one of them.
Fly out the driveway, and you can be on the driveway, and I'll be on the snowbanks.
I think we're probably going to get rid of the Polaris and keep the Kawasaki. It's a little bit smaller, easier to manage, and less, likely to kill our nephews.
Yeah, we need to not kill a nephew. That's a goal.
Yeah, I'm going to fix the brakes, and then we'll probably sell it. So, okay, is that it for our compare and contrast?
No, I guess. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Thanks, guys, for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Well, you guys want some bonus footage? You probably thought we evicted all the mice from this four-wheeler, but guess what? There's more. There. Simple as that.